Hey, g'day guys, it's Calvin from the Car Tune Company in New Zealand. A while back I did a video on gearbox controllers, or a manual shift box. So it's a transmission controller which allows you to use the four-speed transmission, that's the ones with the line pressure cable, in a manual fashion. Okay, just to clear up a few things about that and to show you my new model. So this particular model again works on the 4-speed line pressure cable. That's the one with that cable that's not a bloody kickdown cable, it's a line pressure cable. It's attached to the throttle body, so it works on the models of those models of transmission. It has 3 solenoid outputs, so it will work on both or all of the A340, 341, 342 and A343 that have that line pressure cable, the 4-speed versions. And there's no automatic function. It is solely when you shift it, it will shift and it will stay in the gear that you shift it to. The past models that I showed was one where you could move the shifter and have the overdrive button, or a button for the 4th gear. 3 positions on the gear shifter, on the lever, one position as such on the button, or the 4th gear on the button, and a button for lockup. The other one I showed was a much older version, which was, now what was that man's name? K-Dog. That was it. Took a moment. K-Dog's shifter. And that one, you put it into drive, and then you buttoned up and down, push buttons or a lever or a toggle switch to make it go up and down the gears. The new model is a combination of both of those. So you can move the shifter lever for your gear changes, or you can have buttons, paddle shift, or a toggle up and down to have it shift gear. It's a neat little unit, really simple to install and really simple to use. It's just a black box, comes with a set of instructions, and I'm going to show in this video how to wire it so it'll function as a set of instructions and how it works. We'll do some testing on it to show it working. The job I'm using it on is actually a 1UZ VVTi. It's a bush truck, and it's had a 4-speed transmission fitted to the back of the VVTi engine. So the VVTi ECU will not control the transmission. But discussing that's for a different video. Let's focus on this box. Let's get it wired up. So what I did is I've got the orange, well, I'll do them in order, Sorry, yellow, solenoid 1 or solenoid A, orange, solenoid 2 or solenoid B, and then white for the lockup solenoid. There's a power and an earth, black and a red. That's pretty straightforward, pretty common choices of colours there. I've got 3 gear inputs. So we've got first gear input is a brown and a yellow. Please let it be that one. There it is. Yep. The next one I've got is a brown red. That's that one. Then I've got a drive input, which is a brown black. And over here I've got the brown blue, which is for overdrive or 4th gear. That's an input for that. So that will turn the overdrive on and off. And this brown orange is the lockup. These ones are both positive to switch. So there are no positives. They're going to go out to separate switches on the dash. So I'm going to run an extra positive and an earth for those for the buttons. These ones these three, the gear inputs, are coming from the shift selector switch. Do I have a shift selector switch? I was playing with the plugs on it. So here is the shifter selector switch plugged on the loom that I'm working on. And the shifter selector switch might look like that. So that's on the side of the transmission. There's a 12 volt going down there, and then we only actually need 3 of the wires coming back from that. So they would be low, second, and drive. I've brought all 6. So park, reverse, and neutral have come up as well, and they're at this plug here in this wiring loom. So that's what I'll connect into them. I've already got the 3 wires going down for the solenoids. So that's in that plug there. And additionally, I've got these 2 here, which are for our buttons or our paddles, whatever we want to use, or a toggle switch. So that's a blue one and a green one. That's up and down. Green is up, blue is down. So water's low, green is grass, that's low too. I'm going to pop the extra wires, the power wires and earth wires into this loom, run them up and put some plugs on. Pretty simple process. And then of course I've already got plugs. My engine loom, engine harness is already made, is already done. Basically the box works such as this, is when it gets a low input, it turns the first solenoid on. When it gets a second input, second gear input, it turns both of the solenoids on. And then when it goes to a third gear input or a drive, it has the second solenoid on only. The first solenoid is turned off. And then overdrive or fourth gear, it turns both solenoids off. When you go into lockup, it turns the lockup solenoid on. Lockup, in this case, is above fourth when you're using the paddles. And I'll show that in operation once I've got it all wired up. Okay, oh, shit. I've stuck some wires on this. We're going to do a little bit of testing before I plug it into that wiring loom. I'll give some people some ideas too on how it works. Okay, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to just remove my jump wire here. And I'm going to turn the unit off. Turn the unit off. We're going to imagine our shifter, this unit here, is in drive. So this unit here is sitting in drive. The shifter, there's no wires going to that affect this. This is the selector switch down on the side of the gearbox, the gear selector switch or inhibitor switch. I have run inhibit wires in that loom, so it doesn't start when it is in gear, so it only starts in park and neutral like normal, but that's in a different circuit. It's not part of this box. This box is only about the gear shift. Okay, so this is just moved. Oh, this is in park. Good. And we power the unit up. What we'll find at the moment is one of the solenoids is outputting voltage. Can we see that okay? Yeah, we could. That can be fine. That won't make it move forward in park because it's mechanically in park. We move it into neutral. Move it into neutral. We move it into, oh, we forgot reverse, eh? We probably need to move it through reverse. Not doing anything. Into neutral. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm actually going to pull it all the way back. That shifter, this shifter, which turns this selector switch all the way back to low. And what that will do is it will fire voltage, 12 volts, into this low wire right here. And guess what? That solenoid is still on. At that point, we're actually going to move the shifter. Move the shifter. Which moves this. Choop. And the site fires voltage up there. We still have 12 volts at that wire. So that's our solenoid 1. Well, now we also have voltage at solenoid 2, which wasn't on a moment ago. I didn't prove that, eh? Moving back to low. No solenoid 2. We will just have solenoid 1. So at this point here, we have solenoid 2 and solenoid 1 powered up. So that is going to be second gear on the transmission. Right, we're going to move it into drive. So we're moving the shifter, which moves the selector switch into drive, fires voltage up this wire here, solenoid 1 turns off, solenoid 2 turns on. At this point, we want to put it into overdrive. So we're going to push the button, which just happens to be over here. That's lock up. I'm going to push the overdrive button. I'm just jumping, of course, which fires 12 volts down the overdrive button wire. And you'll notice the solenoid turned off. Solenoid 1 is also turned off. So that is going to be fourth gear, overdrive. So we've had all 4 gears. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire some voltage into lockup. And the lockup is on. You can use lockup as a engine braking a little bit as well. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4 and lockup. You do not use lockup when you're accelerating hard. It will break the transmission. So we don't want to do that, or it can, highly likely. So that's pretty straightforward. Just showing here, you can have lockup in third gear. Mechanically, on some transmissions, you won't have lockup in first and second. You can push the button all you like, but mechanically, it isn't allowed in some of the transmissions. It has to have internal modifications to have lockup in all gears. Okay, so we want to turn the lockup off. Lockup is turned off. But what about the up and down buttons? So we just powered the unit up. We started it in neutral. Start the engine in neutral. We move the shifter to drive. So this goes to drive, which happens to be this wire here. I've got no wires on. I've got no power here because I've actually got it at the moment in overdrive. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to try pushing a button. So I've got my button wires here. These are my button wires. And I'm going to go into the down shift. Down. So we have moved from, so right there we've moved to solenoid 2 being on, which is third gear. Down button. So we've got solenoid 1 and 2 on now. Second gear. So solenoid 2 is off. Solenoid 1 is on. There's first gear. Can I go down another gear? No, it's locked out. There's no more gears to go down. Let's go up in gears. So I'm first gear. Can't go below first gear. And it does it as long as it's got an input into drive, then the buttons will work, and it's the first thing you do. So you put it into drive, you button down, or top paddles, whatever, and it'll slip down into first gear. So that's in first. Yep, that's first. So we need to go up, push the up button. This isn't moving. Solenoid 1 and 2 on, so that's second. Solenoid 2 only on, that's third. Let's go up to fourth. There's overdrive. And if we button up one more, then we've got lockup. There we go. And then we've got lockup. So there's 4 gears plus lockup using our buttons. As you can see, that is a really simple process. There's no automatic function. The automatic will not operate as an automatic. It's not wired to the shifter in the vehicle as such. The shifter moves the gear selector switch, sends the signals to the box, and then the box outputs the appropriate gears as the driver wants it to have. If it sees drive, then you can use the buttons up and down to change gear. But you will start in either overdrive if the overdrive button is selected, or third, sorry, if it's just in drive, not in overdrive. So then you've got 2 clicks down or 3 clicks down. Yeah, 2 clicks down or 3 clicks down. And of course you do have lockup at the top of the range. It does mean that the driver does have to be aware of what gear they're in. I need to do some proper testing on this loom and check everything's working like it should. But I hope that gives a fairly good overview of it working. At some point I will fit one into a vehicle for everybody and show you it working in a vehicle. This is a unit that I do sell. I've sold a heap of them. From even the late model Hiluxes, some of the late model Hiluxes, and they don't actually have a line pressure cable, but they have managed to make them work in those ones. So why would you use one of these manual shift boxes? There's lots of good reasons. If you've done a mix and match like we've done here with the VVTi engine and the non-VVTi transmission. Of course, he will need to mount something for the line pressure cable. If you're using a surf transmission, for example, that might work as well, and running the UZ with a surf transmission. If you're doing a off-road truck, like a competition truck, we've done some of those, or you want to run the automatic transmission but have some control, so it feels more like a manual but not quite a manual. A few guys I've done have also had aftermarket computers that didn't have the logic to do transmission shift. I will actually do a video at some point running Link ECU doing the same control as this box, because we can do those and do a similar function with this box through some of the Link ECUs as well. But that's for another video. So, very helpful. We've used quite a number of them and they work really, really well when they're put into a vehicle as intended. So it's been helpful. We'll talk to you again soon. Catch you later.